Good morning, dear ICEBTS 2022 audience. Welcome to this presentation entitled The Effect of Ad Temporal Features Control on the Experience, Enjoyment, and Ad Recall, an experimental approach for online 360 degrees videos. So welcome to this presentation. My name is Dr. Yassine Bouchikhi. I am an assistant professor in marketing at the School of Business of Al Akhawain University in Ifrane, Morocco. And I will be your host and guide you throughout this presentation. So first, a brief summary of this presentation. I will start with a short bio, then the abstract for this research, a description. In my description, I will talk, of course, about the research problem, a very brief literature review, just to explain to you the main building blocks or conceptual elements that we use for this research. Then I will share with you the conceptual model and research hypothesis that we have for our study, and the experimental research design for our two studies. Finally, I will share with you the conclusion, and if you have any question about the study in general, we can find some elements in the appendix. I will start first with a short bio. So before joining the academic world, I worked for some years within the industry, so specifically in the energy sector. Then I defended a PhD thesis in 2019 at Paris Dauphine University in Paris, of course. So I lectured in various places, Paris Dauphine when I was a PhD student, also at ESSEC, also in the US and other European institutions. I lecture mainly about quantitative marketing, or what we call marketing engineering, marketing research, CRM, customer behavior, and digital marketing. Nowadays, I am at AUI, or Al Akhawain University in Morocco, in Ifrane. This is a small city in the north of Morocco, center north of Morocco, in the Atlas Mountains. Very nice, known for outdoorsy activities and nature in general, and for, of course, for education and academic life in general. Our main research problem for this study is to understand how can we enhance the viewing experience for 360 degrees videos. So in general, we find a lot of literature about classic videos, so the regular type of videos that you find on YouTube, on Dailymotion, Netflix, etc., but not that much on what we call interactive videos. Interactive videos or 360-degree videos are a bit special because the end user has control over the video and can use a panoramic view to, for example, watch the scenes that he prefers, or turn left or turn right, up or down, and he has more control and in general more possibilities than classic static video formats. So we want to study specifically the case for the 360-degree videos. And as you know, for YouTube and other free streaming platforms, their main business model is built on advertising. So they need to insert ads to be economically viable. And so the idea here is to say, how can we improve, or at least not harm or degrade, the evaluation of the viewing of these 360-degree videos? And also, how can we enhance ad recall, so people can memorize the ads if we insert some ads in these videos? So we want to question if, for example, some ads with a specific duration or a specific location, for example, an ad in the beginning or in the middle, may harm less or may be more perceived as being less intrusive for the final user. So the idea is really to understand how we can find the balance between the user needs and the managerial also needs. In terms of potential academic contributions, this research seems important because it puts in the same theoretical framework the concept of immersion and the concept of hedonic adaptation. To our knowledge, they were never measured at the same time. On the managerial level, the video is the fastest growing ad host. So most of the streaming platforms use advertising as their main source of revenue. And this is important for them to know what kind of ads they can insert without harming the consumer experience. And on the methodological level, we conceptualized and measured the hedonic adaptation scale. So this is also something that didn't exist in the literature in the past. So we created a scale and we tested its psychometric properties. And also we measured the evolution of these two concepts, immersion and hedonic adaptation, at the same time. So we conceptualized immersion as a state of discontinuous cognitive absorption with temporal and spatial detachments. So this is the definition based on the research done by Fornerino and al. In 2005 and 2008. And we say that when the state of immersion is present, it has positive outcomes on memorization and enjoyment. And also the fact of giving control to normally a user or to a consumer enhances also the immersive state. So for example, for the 360-degree videos, when someone is able to control the video, it is supposed theoretically to enhance his immersive states. Now, on the other hand, the hedonic adaptation is perceived as being the inhibitor or the brake that impedes the positive experience. So in general, we define hedonic adaptation as a decreased magnitude of response to a stimulus that is presented for a long time or repeatedly. If we take, for example, the case of consuming chocolates, everyone likes and loves chocolates. So in general, when you eat too much of it, you have something that we call satiations. It means that you ate too much and you don't feel the same enjoyment or pleasure of eating it. So the same concept applies for services or for experiences. So when you are having an experience, when you are exposed for too long, for example, to a movie or to a service or a content, then you have also a decreased magnitude of response to this stimulus or to this pleasure. So in general, when you have this adaptation, it's most of the time this is not a good sign, and most of the time it harms the enjoyment of the experience you are having. And to fight this adaptation or stop it, you have two kind of ways. Either you stop consuming the contents and you wait. With time you have what we call a spontaneous remission. So you simply wait and then you start watching again. Otherwise, you have something that we call the dishabituation. It means that you will present a new stimulus or an interruption to make sure that you break this cycle of adaptation and you start from new. This is the key idea, and this is what we want to test with advertising here in this research. So this is our conceptual model. We used first our control variable that we blocked, like the age and the video duration. It was the same to make sure that this is not what impacts our dependent variables. We have two dependent variables, the evaluation of the experience, the liking of the experience, and the memorization score of advertising. This is our second dependent variable. Our independent variables, we have three factors. So we opted for a mixed factorial design. So the first factor is narrative versus non-narrative contents. Narrative contents means the contents that has a story or a plot. There is storytelling in it. For example, a movie, a sci-fi movie, versus non-narrative content, non-narrative video. So a video that is non-narrative, like a documentary or something that doesn't have a story. So it's simply information or presenting something. So these are the two types of videos that we used. Then in terms of advertising interruption, we used interruption in the beginning, in the start of the video or the middle. And the third factor was the duration of the advertising or the interruption. It was a comparison between short versus long formats of interruption. As mediators, we have two mediators here that will explain if people evaluate favorably or disfavorably an experience and if they memorize an ad. We have the path that goes through immersion, and we have the path that goes through hedonic adaptation. So the immersion in general is expected to appear when you have a narrative content, when there is a history or a storytelling. Normally it's more engaging, and generally it generates a better evaluation of the experience and better memorization. And if the content is non-narrative, like a documentary, or there is no story in it, simply information, it can generate more boredom if the video is a little bit long. And this path will degrade the evaluation of the experience and also the memorization. And we also controlled via the perceived intrusiveness of ads to check if the viewers perceived the advertising as being intrusive or not, and if it affected their final evaluation. Remember that immersion and adaptation, hedonic adaptation, are the two building blocks that we are testing in this study, and we see that they play an opposite role against each other. So in our research design, we proceeded via 4 stages. The first one was to organize what we call a passive ethnography. This is simply trying to collect data from online forums like Reddit to see how people perceive online advertising and interruptions in videos, especially the short formats that we call bumper ads, formats that are shorter than 8 seconds. Then we moved to developing a scale to measure hedonic adaptation because we didn't find this scale in the literature. Then we organized 2 experimental studies to better understand the effect of the type of contents, narrative versus non-narrative, and the type of advertising in the beginning or in the middle on our viewership and our participants. And we organized 2 types of studies. The first one is called retrospective, meaning that someone watches a video, then we ask him at the end of the video about his perception. So this is retrospective. So he recalls or remembers what his impressions and his in general evaluations. And the second one is what we call online measurements. It means that, for example, when someone watched a first part of the video, we interrupted him, so online measurements, and we asked him about we measured his immersive states and his hedonic adaptation states. So we measured if he was in immersion or hedonic adaptation, then he continued. So we used 2 kinds of measurements here in our research. Given the time, I will skip some hypotheses and focus only on the key results. The first one is we identified clearly 2 types of video contents. So you have the narrative content versus the non-narrative contents. The narrative contents generates a different experiential profile. So it includes storytelling, and in general, it creates more enjoyment, like watching a movie and having the possibility to interact with this movie in 360-degree videos. The non-narrative contents, meaning without a storytelling, simply, for example, information or being able to control the video, but without a plot, without a story. This type of content generates less enjoyment and another experiential profile. So this is the hypothesis H2. The hypothesis H1 is the effect of narrativity on the evaluation of the experience is positive. When you have the narrative content, it generates more positivity. Also, we detected the mediating mechanism. We found that immersion and hedonic adaptation are the mediators. We were able to find that in our results. We found also that hedonic adaptation and immersion are negatively correlated, whatever is the nature of the contents, whether it's narrative or non-narrative. When you have immersion, hedonic adaptation is not present, and vice versa. So both of them are opposite. These are 2 opposite concepts, and this is something that we measured for the first time to our knowledge in a study. And finally, we will discuss the effects of the duration of the interruptions in the following slide. So if you remember, our main goal for this research was to find a way to design ads that help us to improve the viewing experience or at least not degrading the evaluation or the viewing experience when someone is watching an interactive 360-degree video online. So basically, the second goal or second objective or our second dependence variable was also to be able to enhance the memorization of the advertising break. So we carried out a series of mixed ANOVA analysis, and here we summarize the most important results. So in general, avoiding ads placed in the middle or short ads for narrative content. When you have a content with storytelling, a movie or something like that, in general, if you insert an ad, even if this ad is very well designed and carefully designed, it will lower the watching enjoyment because this content doesn't like interruption. It is also recommended to insert advertisements in the middle for non-narrative content. Non-narrative content where there is no storytelling. It can be just information or it can be other type of non-narrative content. So in general, in this case, it is highly recommended that you insert an ad because it enhances the viewing experience. And the third most important point is that the memorability of advertisements depends solely on its duration. So in general, people don't memorize at all short ads or what we call bumper ads used by Google. These are the three takeaways or three most important points when it comes to 360-degree videos. So basically, to conclude, there are two experiential paths for online 360-degree videos. The first one is narrative, when it contains storytelling and it generates immersion. The second one is non-narrative and it generates hedonic adaptation, or what we call psychological satiety or boredom to some extent. Immersion leads all the time to a positive and appreciated experience when someone is captivated by the content of the video or the story. Immersion and hedonic adaptation are all the time negatively correlated, so they have a strong negative correlation. When you have immersion, hedonic adaptation is absent and vice versa. Narrative content does not like the middle or mid-roll interruptions and short interruptions, what we call also bumper ads. This is a short format used by Google, less than 8 seconds. In general, if you are watching something that is immersive, like a movie with a plot, a story, etc., inserting an ad in the middle or inserting a very short ad will harm the viewing experience. Non-narrative content generates hedonic adaptation and is insensitive to any type of interruption. So when you have non-narrative content, there is no story, so you can interrupt as much as you like, and with different type of advertising interruptions. Whether it's short, long, in the middle, or in the beginning, it doesn't matter because it will not harm the experience by the viewers. And finally, for the memorization, even if we manipulate several factors, only one element affects the memorization, and it's the duration of the ad. If you have long ads, in general, they are recalled better than other formats of ads. Thank you very much for your attention.